How do we know that 1 centimeter on the ruler is really 1 centimeter? And there's more. Why doesn't a 30-centimeter ruler have exactly 30 centimeters? There's a little extra bit at the ends. And more, why does it have this hole? To find out all of this, we came to the Max Screw factory in Diadema, in Greater Sao Paulo. Today, you're going to find out how a ruler is made. Let's check it out. It starts with the raw material, which is polystyrene. It arrives here at the factory in these 25 kilo bags in the form of grains or pellets. Polystyrene, the plastic used in styrofoam, is popular in industry for its flexibility and durability. To make the ruler, the polystyrene goes into this machine, which is an injector. So the plastic goes down through this funnel and will be melted at a temperature of about 250 degrees Celsius. Then, a screw pushes the plastic into a mold. The injector can make 8 rulers at the same time. As soon as the plastic hardens, a robot uses vacuum to take it out of the machine and start the cycle again. The process is really fast. It takes about 30 seconds, and the ruler comes out nice and warm. We ask them to inject the plastic outside the mold. Look how crazy this is. Here, we can tell that it comes out really hot. Then, when you touch it, it feels like chewing gum. It takes quite a while to cool down, and that's why this machine has an entire cooling system. It's like a refrigerator that makes water flow through the mold, so we can remove the ruler quickly. So that's it now, right? We just need to package this ruler. No, it doesn't have any markings. And that's where a part comes, and that's not as simple as it seems. When the ruler comes out of the injector here, it's hot, and throughout the day, it shrinks and gets smaller and smaller. If you mark the ruler now, right after it comes out, the ruler will shrink, and the markings will all be wrong. 1 centimeter will end up being about 0.9. So what they do here is let the ruler rest for 24 hours and only mark it the next day. And that's why the ruler isn't exactly 30 centimeters. There's always a little bit left over. It's a margin of error. No one knows the ruler's final size because it depends on the temperature during production, which varies slightly with the raw material. It's safest to print on the ruler after it cools and leave some extra. Another material they use here is recycled polyethylene terephthalate. Look how cool you take this ruler, and it's hard to imagine that one day it was once a soda bottle. When it's a product that isn't transparent, they mix styrene with a little bit of dye in a concrete mixer. Each product has an exact amount of dye. And of course, it's not just the ruler. With the same technology, you can make set squares, protractors, drawing kits, templates, mailboxes, and even clipboards. The amount of dye used is minimal. It's hard to look at what's in my hand and imagine that it's going to turn into a clipboard of this color here. What's interesting here in the raw materials room is that there are several little products that had some kind of problem. They come here, get ground up, and go back to the injection machine again. Nothing is wasted. Key to ensuring the ruler's quality is this mold, which goes inside the injection machine and was difficult to see when they opened it in the maintenance room. And we can see that the place where the plastic is injected is extremely smooth. And here, there's a path that the hot plastic will travel until it reaches the hole, the space made to be filled by it, and form the ruler. One of the reasons this part is so precise is that one goes in front of the other, and then the plastic is injected with a lot of pressure, and it can't leak at the junction between the two parts at the same time. The mold can't deform under the pressure, so this here is practically solid. This whole piece here weighs about half a ton. But how are we going to mark it, knowing that it has exactly 30 centimeters? To make a ruler, do we need another ruler? Yes, this one here is the mother of them all. It's a calibrated steel ruler. Its measurement even has an expiration date, and after a batch is made, it's brought here to check if the numbers match exactly. Do the numbers on the plastic ruler match exactly with this one? It's perfect. Now, if this is the mother of all rulers, who is its mother? Do you need a ruler to make all the other rulers? Yes, there is this mother of all rulers, but it's already retired. At the end of the 18th century, almost 1800, France decided it needed to standardize units of measurement. It was a mess. There were a lot of merchants arguing because they couldn't agree. For example, there was a unit named the foot, but the Neapolitan foot measured 26.35 centimeters, while the British foot was 30.48 centimeters. The French foot, 32.48. So let's go. Let's create a measurement that can be used internationally by everyone. And that is based on nature. How about we take the distance from the North Pole to the equator and divide it by 10 million? And that's what they did. They measured it very precisely. And in 1799, the meter was defined. If you take 10 million meters, you get from the equator to the North Pole. And that's when the first official ruler appeared. They cut a platinum bar, and everyone who wanted to make a ruler had to go there and base it on that ruler. But it took a long time to convince other people to use this measurement. Just so you have an idea, it was only in 1975 that they held the meter convention, where 17 countries signed a treaty agreeing to officially use the meter, as you might have guessed, right? Brazil. Guessed wrong. Brazil is among the 17 countries that signed the meter convention. Around this time, they made another platinum ruler with some iridium, a different metal, making it more precise. Copies were distributed to several countries. The problem is that measurements kept improving over time, and people realized that having a physical ruler like that wasn't the best option. It expands. If you look at it microscopically, it's not that perfect. Until, in 1960, they decided that the meter was no longer that ruler, D. It was a fraction of the reaction of the chemical element krypton. It's much more complicated, but also much more precise. That only lasted a short time until 1986, when they decided that the meter would then be the distance traveled by the speed of light in a vacuum during 1 second, divided by 299. It may seem complicated, but I think measuring the distance from the North Pole to the equator in 1799 was even harder. But anyway, this measurement is the master ruler that we have today. The platinum bars themselves you can only find in museums. Now, yes, we can mark the millimeters on the ruler. I used to think it was a printer, like an inkjet or something like that, but no, it's way cooler than that. The technique here is called pad printing. There's a type of metal where the markings are engraved as if it were corrosion on the steel. Then the machine applies ink over it, and the ink will only stick to the places where the steel was corroded. Then a giant rubber pad comes in, picks up that ink, and transfers it to the ruler. Everything is done automatically to ensure the precision of the millimeters being marked there. It's time for packaging. Each one is placed in a plastic sleeve individually with great care, because one thing that can't happen here is scratching the ruler. It has to arrive perfect in the hands of whoever is going to use it. Here in Diadema, they produce up to 100,000 rulers a day. I forgot to explain the hole. In the past, in a workshop, it was common to put a little nail in the wooden wall and hang the ruler. At Manuel do Mundo, we did that for quite a while, and nowadays it's not used as much, but the little hole remains. Some more modern rulers, like this one here, don't have the hole anymore, and it has something else. It has a kind of groove, which is for us to place our finger and hold the ruler more firmly. I had never thought about that either. I always saw this on the ruler and assumed it made it stronger. If you just learned this too, give a thumbs up. If you're in the mood to check out these, let's see. About school supplies, one of the coolest is how pencils are made. We went to the biggest pencil factory in the world, and it turned out really cool.